hop on to my mobile data because my Wi-Fi does not do shit. So as we were saying, like people jump onto like it's this bandwagon or it's that bandwagon, but they don't realize that what may work for one person doesn't work for another, or they see the worst thing. I actually want you to talk about food quality, but the worst thing is when it comes down to like IIFYM, if it fits your macros, whatever goes. But people are neglecting the fact that what you eat actually impacts metabolism, digestion, your mood, your performance, and a myriad of other things, not because we don't eat macros. We don't eat carbs. We don't eat protein. We don't eat fat. We eat food. And food is a conglomerate of not only macros, but micros, vitamins, minerals. And they are all essential for feeding not only the metabolism, but for other systems in your body. So what is something that you see a lot in social media that people miss the straw, well, the haystack for the straw?
I think, yeah, that's a really great point, isn't it? I think it's the needle in the haystack, as it were. It's like, what is the bit that's actually like sort of like missing? I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people sort of get wrong, and I don't want to say get wrong, but they don't appreciate just the small things. And I think that's one of the worst things about sort of just, and I don't want to say it's the worst thing, but like just one of the things that really make the fitness industry as a whole kind of really unapproachable, because a lot of people just tend to sort of go, here's your plan. If you can't do the plan, then see you later. You know, you're not doing this and you're not joining it. You're not on my team, as it were. And then people just don't like appreciate that. Look, right. And I'm going to quote my good mate Phil Lerney here, who's one of my biggest inspirations. It's like, if you can just regulate your butter and your ketchup just from where you are right now, and you stop drinking Coke and you switch that even to like a Pepsi Max, or even to like a Reign, or we have this Reign or like Monster or something like that. They're not amazing, they're not perfect, but that's not what we expect, right? But I'll tell you what, you'll get a result, because all of a sudden you're getting rid of calories. You haven't got to prescribe oats in the morning to everyone for breakfast, or beef or whatever. You just need to just measure what you've got, and you just need to have a plan, right? And then sometimes what we need to do is we just need to write it down, because people aren't stupid, right? We all aren't stupid. If we can just write it down and go, this is what I've had today, you come back to it at the end of the day, you'll be sat there going, right, I get it. And I don't think that people actually take that time. We don't give ourselves that permission to be able to go, you know what, I'm just going to actually do this right now. Calories, that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. People start demonizing the carbohydrate. Once I start exercising, I can't have any carbs anymore. And then all of a sudden, this stigma, this dogma of everything comes around. And then you sit there and go, I can never do that because it's too hard. It's just too hard. And, our really good friend Zoe and me had a good chat about it. And we were talking about this. And it's just, you haven't got to be perfect. It's the consistency of your daily actions that add up to the biggest part of your results, right? If you eat more whole food from the ground that was grown in a field by your mate who's the farmer, do you know what I mean? I live in Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire area, so I'm all around arable land. It's all farmland around here. And literally in the field that's destined to get sold into London and stuff down here as well. So, if you talk to the people that are your local suppliers, firstly, it's sustainable. You're providing everything back to the environment, and you're going to get real food. Real food's got tons of hydration. It's got good fiber in it, and it's easier to diet. It's easier to lose weight if you eat those foods. So I think that's one of the
something people don't realize, that it makes it easier to diet. And like if you try to do calorie comparisons, it's like, yes, you can eat those foods, but are you choosing to? It's like flexible dieting to me is knowing that you can eat those foods, but it's choosing and knowing that you can, but not doing it because it's not the best option for you in this moment, or there are better options out there for you in this moment. Like, think about a 200 calorie, like, tiny donut about the size of my palm versus a bowl of like tuna or chicken salad with veggies. Like, they are both, like, a bowl this big of chicken, tuna, veggies versus a little donut. Which one's going to fill you up the most? Which one's going to enhance your performance, enhance your mood? Like, there are so many different things to consider when choosing what food to have in the moment.
I think as well that that's not only the one, it's not that moment, right? But it's then what happened before and then what happens later on. So if I have a donut, right, maybe I go and I don't know, are we swearing, Rubes? What's the language? Yeah, okay, right, well, fuck it.
It's Australia, mate.
There we go, right? So fuck it, donuts out the window, right? Rest of my day, screw it, whatever. I'm just going to do whatever. And, you know, and then that's more detrimental to somebody's, you know, success and approaching their diet and getting their goal than what the donut was. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a matter of like going, if you're going to have this, now, okay, if I've had a donut, I ain't failed. It's like 300, 400 calories. I don't know what a donut is, right? But like, if you know what that is, right? You sit there and go, well, that's just that moment. In a few more hours, I'm going to be hungry again. I just get straight back on it. Do you know what I mean? And that's the problem that I do see a lot with sort of like in and out culture. It's all in, all out. And it hasn't got to be like that. There's areas of grey in the middle. You know?
That's actually something I really want to touch on as well, because sometimes it may be best not to have that donut because people aren't at the level yet where they are, I hate using the word qualified, but pretty much qualified themselves to allow something like that in. Because maybe, just maybe, that one donut might lead to the mentality of, oh, I already had one donut. I can let this in as well. Like, you start to let more and more things slip because how you do one thing is how you do everything. You need to realize that we all have a spectrum on where we need to start. And people demonize restrictors. Like, you're either an abstainer or you're a moderator. There are some people that actually need to abstain from certain behaviors in order to feed the identity of the person they want to become. Something that I've experienced not only with myself in the past and with my clients is that they need to remove themselves from the situation completely, or they need to remove that situation, like themselves from the situation or the situation from themselves. Because if you allow that situation into your environment, that is not only going to increase your temptation for that, but you have not yet developed the tools, the identity, the habits, the routine. Just eat the donuts. Yeah. Oh, I hate it when people say just eat the donut. Like, that's one of my trigger points. It's like, okay, that might work for some people, but for other people, you're not realizing that that is not who they are yet. You are not thinking about where you started from. We all have a starting place. Like, I spoke to one of my clients on like her journey when I did a video with her, and she's like, she was very strict to start with. Very strict with meal times, very strict with eating the same shit every single day, pretty much monotonous, like just on the go, because that's what she needed to develop the identity within herself. And this amount of accents at 4:15 is the best way to start any day. 2 accents for a day. But it's like she needed to actually enforce that habit and that momentum into her identity to be able to then allow the flexibility in the future. And that was pretty much like me. Like, one of my clients, I think I saw her on here. She literally had all the peanut butter banned from the house. Her kids had one job that they hid from her because they knew, I think it was her husband or her kids, hid the peanut butter from her because she couldn't be trusted around peanut butter. 6 months later, she's eating peanut butter by, like, she gets the spoon out, puts it on, leaves it on her counter because she's got to a place where she can do that now. But if people are just saying, oh, just fuck it, eat the donut, told you it's Australia, mate. Just fuck it, eat the donut. And they haven't yet built that identity. They're going to they keep on pushing themselves back from making steps forward because they're listening into the general consensus that it's okay to be flexible. It's okay to do this. It's okay to do that. And then they wonder why their digestion shit. They wonder why their mood shit. They wonder why they're still stressing about the results. Like, your digestion matters. And if you haven't yet made peace with your belly and you're having a bloated episode, you can easily like throw everything down the toilet from that. So I actually wanted you to go into how food quality can also impact hormones and digestion, and why stress matters. Like, I actually want to go more into why stress is so important when it comes to digestion and metabolism in itself.
Well, look, I think you touched on some really great points just a moment ago, and I think that, and we'll come to hormones and digestion, stress. I write everything down, so I've got notes. Right? But I don't know how you say it, but Zarate or Zarat or however you say
Zarate.
it. Had a really good point. Like, just eat the donut. It is quite detrimental to a lot of people. And I suppose that it depends on, again, it's just going back to mindset. And I think that that's one of my biggest jobs really as a coach, you know, whatever I am, it really is. It's a matter of how do we go, you know, just change that behavior and that routine. If that donut was dressed up in a packaging that said, you know, a fitness brand on the front of it, and it was a fitness branded donut, someone's idea might be different. Even if you use the word protein donut on the front of it, or bodybuilding donut, or, you know, we have that all the time of, like, you know, brownie or a cookie or whatever. You know, we know some very famous protein bar companies that do those things, you know, one that begins with Q, for example. And so, you know, if you look at it like that, it is literally, it could be the exact same product, could be exactly the same thing. But our idea of we need to belong to a team, or we need to belong to this dogmatic approach of, or ism, you know, whatever it is, you know, I am, you know, I'm CrossFitism, or I'm bodybuildingism, or whatever. I've got to belong, haven't I? And if it's not in that, then I didn't do it, and then I feel like I failed. Not everyone's like that though, right? Everyone just kind of like goes, well, at least I've got a little bit of that in my life, then I'm all right, I'm good, I'm cool. So I think that's one thing. If it was like dressed up with the fitness halo wrapped around it, you know, that's what I always say. It's like, if we just put this little health halo around it, then it'd be okay, and people might have a very different idea. And in reality, you're quite right. You know, food is just food, and it's always there for you. You can always have the donut if you like. Maybe it's just not right for right now, if that makes sense. And also, like, I mean, I get stick all the time about talking about people about like dairy Lunchables. I use these little things because over here in the UK we've got these little like snack packs that basically are sold for as being like children's lunches, right? But they're actually quite low in calories, and for a lot of my people, they're just like, oh, I don't know how, I can't get to food, or I can't get to. And so like, I use that all the time. It's not the most amazing food, it's not, but it's better than someone starving themselves and then later on having to binge, and they're going to overcompensate for the food. And I'd rather someone that's balancing their blood sugar out regularly.
Yeah, sometimes it's about making the next best option. Like, oh, okay, that's the thing. Like, it takes sacrifice at first. Like, you may not like the fact that you're about to have a can of tuna with a salad, or you have to buy some ham, or you have to buy some shredded chicken that's already pre-made and shoved into some salad. But think about how you will feel after. That's the thing. Because the guilt that you will feel after having a calorie-dense, greasy meal that's going to make you feel like shit and your digestion feel like shit, it's not saying you can't fit in those foods, but is it serving you to become the person you want to be? Like, I find being strict on my diet and being disciplined and tracking my food to be the most freeing thing in the world, because I know I have the choice to eat whatever the hell I want and fit it in my macros. But I choose not to, because I love food and I love big meals. And if I choose that donut or that burger, I don't get to enjoy what I'm having right now. So I've constructed my meal plan around my macros to serve me in a way that I love my food and I could eat it every day. If I have the temptation there, I have the knowledge on being like, okay, so this is the macro like content of this. I have to sacrifice this. Am I going to make this choice every day? No. For example, the protein donut, we actually have protein donuts. We actually have protein bars with all the health halos on them. Would I choose to eat a protein donut? Actually, in my past, I would have, because the health halo made me choose that protein donut over the normal donut. It might have more calories, and I wouldn't have even realized that because I was just looking at the, like, oh, it's got more protein. Not, oh, I can just use this as like my carbs and my fats, and then I could just have protein in my other meals, which I freaking love chicken and I love my tuna, so I would actually prefer to do that now. But for me, I don't even look at it that way anymore. I look at it as that's not going to satisfy me. It's that small for this many calories, whereas I could have this many calories, and that's going to satisfy me. Like, I choose satisfaction and satiety over that. If I want to, like, people demonize condiments. Flavor your damn food if that's what you need to do. Like, flavor it. I put sugar-free tomato sauce on my stuff sometimes. I don't do it anymore because I actually buy sugar-free maple drops. Now, I don't like sweet food. I like savory food, but I like sweet toppings. So I actually eat all my meals savory, but I add in sugar-free maple drops into pretty much all my meals, even salads, because I like maple lettuce and I like maple veggies and I like maple chicken. I'm weird like that, but it works for me. What works for me might not work for you. You might not like the fact that you might not like jam with bread with a banana, but someone else might. I just had to think of some weird combination. Like, you need to think of something that works for you and something that you like instead of seeing what Tom, Dick, and Harry are doing. I remember when I was competing, I used to be so envious of people who did macro caps. Like, at the end of the day, they'd be like, oh, I have this many, like, carbs and fats and protein left. I'm just going to make this big compilation meal. I used to look at food porn on my phone. And if you're going to be continuously consuming that type of content, what do you think your mind's going to gravitate towards?
I think that you raised some really good points there, Ruby. I think that, you know, a lot of people might listen to that there and be like, what? Maple lettuce? Do you know what I mean? Do I have to eat like that? And it's like, no, not at all, you know. And we have our own, you know, flavors and everything that we like based upon what we do all the time. You know, if I live on McDonald's and KFC, for example, I'd really love to eat McDonald's and KFC. Now, it just tastes like, to me, you know, it tastes like rancid, burnt oil, and I can't come to it. But a lot of people can, you know, right? And that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, whatever I do. It's not about me. It's not about you, Ruby, because you and me, we're dead behind the eyes. That's what I say. Just like, you just get on with it, right? But, you know, trying to think of it from like somebody else's perspective, if you're just at the start of a diet and you have still got those things in, you can just make really simple choices. It's like, look at the menu. Can you plan to have, you know, some apple slices and a bottle of water instead of your Pepsi, right? Can you just can you swap your burger, like your Big Mac, instead of having like a Big Mac and fries? Could I make that just, you know, a kid's Happy Meal? I don't know, like, you know, whatever is the most approachable thing. Because another really important thing, I know you want to talk about hormones and digestion and stress, but it all kind of boils into sort of the bigger picture is, and you said right at the very beginning of this conversation was like to do about like with people and places and the moments that we're in. If I was going to take my family, for example, to McDonald's for, you know, because it's such and such's birthday or whatever it is, cool, okay, we make that choice, but it doesn't mean that I just like I can let everything go. I can still be a part of that environment. I can still be in that moment. I can still share a meal with my family, but I just make a choice that is relevant to me. I get a lot of people that come to me and they go, oh, well, you know, my husband, he really likes his steak, and so he'll have steak and it's rare, but I don't really like steak, so I'll have mine well done, you know, or whatever. And so I say, you know, well, okay, cool, I get it, right? But that means that when you're at home, do you have to eat the same meal? because you get the classic example of like where people aren't the same, you know, and men and women. I know there's there's a lot of issues around diversity and culture and all that other stuff, but we are fundamentally different. We do have different needs. I need more minerals than a lady does, you know. Ladies need more folate and more vitamin C and all those other really beautiful things that make you amazing creatures. Do you know what I mean? That reproduce and do all the amazing things that your body has to do. So like you have a fundamental need for different things. And that aside, you have a fundamental different need for energy intake. You know, I'm a 6'4" man. I probably eat 3,000 calories a day. I don't know, but like, for somebody else, that could be triple the amount of their daily allocation of what they need. You know, so I think that when we look at things like that and we think about whether food to it, yeah, it's great, and yes, we do want to eat whole food as much as we possibly can. Food that comes from the ground will satiate me better, I'll feel better, I'll be happier, and when I'm happier, I'll make better choices. If I sleep more, I make better choices. If I feel better and I'm okay about life and I'm more balanced, I make better choices. So it all adds up. It's not just about food. Food is one element, right? Are you getting outside? You know, a walk every day should be just as much a habit as brushing your teeth and drinking coffee in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Just get outside, see sunlight, you know, and these are just the really basic, simple, approachable things that people don't emphasis. They don't put the emphasis on that. They don't see that as being important. And it is, you know, my mate Zoe would say, she'd be like, just take the stairs, get off, stop early, do whatever it is that you can, just to get a little bit more movement in your day. We are inherently, especially as we get older, we want to move less. So that's just what happens, right? Now, you were saying about like no meals. I call them no meals. I wrote down on here my no meals. So a no meal to me is like one of those meals that you sit down and go, I'm never eating that. No way. No, not eating that. Even though it's like it could be the most perfect bowl of whatever to support you, your needs, everything. But a lot of people turn around and go, I know that. And just to bring it back to sort of our McDonald's conversation or fast food conversation or whatever it is, yes, I might be able to flex it in and get it into my flex bowl or even into my, you know, my macro-based diet or whatever. But if we like I say again, if we base our food back onto whole, real ingredients that we recognise as being food when I look at them, you know, it's a butternut squash, it's a cabbage, it's a piece of chicken, you know, and I can just use little flavour enhancements like you were saying. Like sriracha is so low in calories. Mustard, to quote Luke, I know Luke used to drink it, right? But Luke, you know, it's so low in calories. A little bit of maple syrup, let's be real. If I use a tablespoon of maple syrup, let's be real. I have had clients that have told me some amazing stories about some of the things that they do in behind closed doors, behind this little glass and this little lens.
My stevia drops. It's like sugar-free stevia drops.
Yeah. Or it's even just like a little bit. See you later, Ange. So she says, what a shame, got to leave.
All right, Ange, I'll be posting this onto Ruby Ramble so you can listen to it later.
Yeah, there you go. Right. So even it's just like seasoning my meal with a little bit of apple cider vinegar and sea salt, and then people go, "What? Sea salt? Salt?" Yeah. You know, it's like if I'm eating highly processed food, that food is full of sodium, and sodium is a cell saturator, right? You and me all know that. Whereas potassium gets nutrients into and out of cells, right? So potassium will get stuff in. Potassium comes from veggies. Sodium comes from really highly processed food. Sodium comes from, if you're drinking, I haven't got any around, but like Coke Zero and all that other stuff, you know. So it's really about, I suppose, basing your meals around what you're already eating, for example, and then being able to push that forward. Now, if we start to look at people's situations and moments in time, you know, they might see that right now, this is what I can get and this is the best option that I can get. So I rank them on these 4 tiers, right? I give them best, better, worse, worst, right? So my best one, this is my best option. My best option right now would be my perfect meal in a bowl, right? Might be a no meal though, right? So I'm not that bothered. So slightly better than where I am. Might be something in between that. So it might just be like I'm just going to go to the deli and grab a wrap. Cool, right? A slightly worse option might be something like just not eating anything at all. and starving, or even just getting hold of a protein bar, right, or a bit of chocolate or something to be able to carry me through. Worst option would be, right, fuck it, where's the cupboards? Do you know what I mean? Right, here we go then. Let's just get in on it. So if we,
You can actually put a visualization to that, like a traffic light system of what's a go option. But then there's not really one orange option. Like there are lots of orange, there are lots of amber lights that you can pick from. But then you'll have your hard nose simply because of your personality traits. Like, what do you need to say no to for the situation right now? Like you said, what's going to happen after the meal? How are you going to feel after the meal? Because every single situation you make, for every action, there is a reaction. That's something to think about as well, because for every meal choice you make, for every yes that you give, that's a no to something else.
and I think that, especially if you have, so you were saying about, you know, people that have that sort of like, I can't keep peanut butter in the house. The peanut butter's around. Oh my, you know, the whole jar's gone. Whatever. You know, if that is you, then, you know, in reality, you firstly just get a scale and weigh it out. just have a little bit of exposure to those things, you know, because if you have that all in, all out mentality, well, I just showed you that there's at least 4 options right now, right? There's not 2 options anymore. There's now 4. And then there's even more in between all those 4, right? But we need to put them on that scale, right? Because at least if I put them on that scale, it would keep it nice and simple. And I can just go, right, okay. And I can do that with anything, right? I want to go out for pizza. What's the best option? Best option, over here, we've got like Pizza Express. And you can buy these pizzas that have just got a massive hole in the middle. So they take a bunch of pizza out of it, and then they stick a massive salad in the middle. That's probably a great option if you're going out for pizza, right? Because it means that I've got a calorie controlled amount, and then I've got some veggies, some fiber. At least there's some goodness in there, right? Probably a little bit below that, I don't know. Maybe I've got something that is like some like crusty sourdough. Maybe I've got maybe like a local artisan producer does some really great local thin, crispy sourdough based pizzas. Something that might be slightly worse might be something like I just go to the shop and buy like a Goodfellas pizza, you know, the ones that you put in the oven that are just trash and they're awful. And a worst option might be going out to my local. So here we are. Obviously, you guys have a chippy too, right? You have a chip shop or whatever we call them, a chippy. Yeah. But over here we have a lot of like what we call kebab shops and stuff like that. So because obviously there's a lot of European culture over here as well. So we get like I don't know what you guys might call it, but you'll see like you know like Japanese like yakitori, like barbecue skewers and things like that. We have sort of like similar things here, but they're not as cultured as that. They're just sort of like it's meat on a spit that's probably, you know, everything that's come from every part of the animal, you know. But going to the kebab shop and getting a pizza from there, you know, just chucking stuff on and just whatever. So that's probably my worst option, right? So you can put anything on that scale. Now, going back to what you were saying about like hormones and digestion and stress, we also know that if, for example, right, and I don't know if you're like me, Ruby, but if I ever get bloated from a meal, maybe I've had something and I'm just like, oh, I wasn't that happy about it, it really changes my mindset. Do you ever get that as well?
I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Or even maybe, and here's another thing, Ruby, you know, maybe it's a different time of the month for me. Maybe where I am in my cycle make me a bit bloated. It makes me a bit upset. And that really changes who I am as well and how I react to things and everything else. Now, if I can negate that as much as I can with something like making sure that I'm eating for my health, and your health is wealth and all that other good stuff, right? But I'm eating for my health and me. I'm feeding my sort of like intrinsic needs as a male or a female or whoever, and that I'm getting enough rest and I'm getting enough sleep. You know, that's all going to have that massive impact on you as a human, right? And everything that you do. So making sure, if I keep consistently making poor choices, and if I wanted to be actively unhealthy, then maybe I would keep going to the kebab shop and eating pizzas from the kebab shop, and I'd keep drinking bottles of wine like they were going out of fashion, and I keep grabbing my lunch from McDonald's because I've got no other option. I haven't really prepared anything, and I keep just not eating breakfast because I'm not really that hungry. And well, you know, I need to diet. I need to lose some weight, so I'm just going to not eat, right? People still eat food and lose weight, right? So when we go back to looking at your hormones and your digestion and your stress, and I show this time and time again, number one thing is when people start to work with me, because when I do my private coaching, what I see the biggest thing is that tummies get leaner, tummies get tinier. And that's what we all want, right? Everyone wants that. Everyone wants the big shoulders and the big hips, right? Even the guys do, right? We all want that really sort of like that X frame going on. And that starts with something like, for example, to quote my mate Eva, right? Protein at meal one. And it's not breakfast, it's just the first meal that you do eat of the day. If you're not hungry at breakfast, cool. Wait until you're hungry. Hunger's not an emergency, right? It doesn't mean that I've got to jump on and just get on everything. I eat when I'm satiated. I have to eat around my training to make sure that I don't drop my blood sugar chronically and I get that slump. And I've got some fruit or something around, even just something that's just so basic, easy to digest. So I'm not going in with a massively heavy meal. I wouldn't have a lot of fat around my training, for example. And that I make sure that I evenly balance my food out throughout the day. You will feel better doing that. You know, hit protein at meal one. These are just the easy things to do. Hit protein at meal one. Eat around any of your training that you do, and try and eat from the ground as much as you can. If it swam, if it ran, if it clucked, if it not barked, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Please don't eat anything
That you're gonna have.
Please
The
don't
worst
eat
thing I
anything.
see is that when you like people are eating like sweets and stuff and all the rest of it, it'll have a different impact on you, on your metabolism and everything. And you're completely right. You know, like eating plastic food is not good for us, is it? You know, we know that. But people come to that because sometimes those foods don't have the compounds in them to stop you digesting them. So I could give somebody an apple and they'll be fine, but I give somebody else another apple and they're bloated all afternoon and they've got a hazy head and everything else. You know, is it the sugar? Is it the pectins? Is it the FODMAP or whatever? You know, it's what's going on. So,
and then there's also the fact that if you eat like overly processed food, there's like the compounding processed foods that eats away at your gut lining, which then like that in itself will impact not only your digestion, but then the nerve that then connects to your brain. Like everything else is a flow-on effect. Like think about like foods that aren't natural obviously contain things to keep them as they are. And like things like emulsifiers, that type of stuff actually has an impact when like eaten repetitively on your gut itself. And Rob actually put, I like saying Husk actually put up a really good post about digestion, and digestion does not start in the mouth. It doesn't even start in the nose, like smelling food. It doesn't even start there. It starts with your perception of food itself. If your perception of a certain food is you're stressed over it, don't eat it because you're not going to digest it properly. You're not going to metabolize that food properly because your body is in a state of stress. Your body is so responsive to the neural inputs, as in the mindset input that you give it, that it has the power to change how you metabolize and how you digest food. You first have a thought of food. That thought of food, if we go back to the milkshake study, which I probably mentioned forever ago now, same milkshake. One is touted as a diet shake, pretty much thin as anything, diet shake. One is like touted as a decadent, calorie indulgent dessert shake. Same calories. The people that had the diet shake demolished it and they were hungry soon after, and they ate more during the day. The people that had the decadent high calorie dessert shake, which was the same calories, didn't eat that much, especially in comparison to that group for the rest of the day. Like that perception of the food impacted how they went about the rest of their day. It is so important to keep in mind that your perception of anything around you shapes the chemical, the hormonal, all that stuff within your body. And that therein impacts your digestion. And the way that your body digests food and assimilates it then determines what nutrients are actually extracted, what nutrients are then fed into your metabolism. So it is more than food. It is way more than food. You can never talk, well, we have to bring in the selling point of food because that's the most comprehensible, the most understandable concept for people to understand. But food comes down to so much more. Mindset, health, hormones, digestion. Who are you as a person? Like, there is so much more to nutrition, to food, than just the food itself. How about emotional eating?
I can remember, so you and me have both been mentored by Luke in the past at Muscle Nerds. And I can remember years ago, Luke saying to me, he's like, if you can calm down, dude, right, I can get more food into you. And I never believed it. I never believed it until I actually started doing it, right? And so they shared with me, and it was just like daily, I would do a, Mr. Lee Gillian's just joined. Hello, Lee. Sorry, I'm just saying, just a little props to my man. Because it's 9 a.m. here, people should be at work, right? And it's like nice for you guys. You're all finished now for the day. And I can remember him saying, and he'd give me headspace to do. So I would do, like just do a few headspace in the morning, and I'll tell you what, it was just like life changing. And you just sit there and go, why do I not put this more into my day? And the more I can just take a moment just to reduce my stress, means that in actual fact everything's going to be better. My digestion's better. I go into everything in my life better. I go into my relationships better. I prepare better food because I'm going to give myself the time and sort of allow myself to do that. If I go out with my family, for example, and we go for a meal, and if I'm already stressed and getting irate about it, straight away that whole situation is going to start to be, negative in some way, shape or form. Even if it's just a food choice or whatever it is, because of the social interaction. Now, we go to a social event or something like that. We don't want to be ribbed by his mates, do we? We all want to belong. We don't want to sit there and go, well, actually, I don't really. I'm not going to pick. I'm not eating gluten or whatever, or I'm not eating dairy or whatever it is. And you don't want your mates to be sort of like pulling it out. So you just have to have a plan, right? And that moment there, if you've got a plan, you take control of what you're doing. That is stress reduction straight away. Even if there's non-perfect food on the agenda, right? Because most of us will go out and it's like, well, where's the chicken and bacon salad or something, or where's the low carb option? Where's the one that's got the most fiber? Where's the one that's got the most, X, Y, and Z or whatever? And in actual fact, it's like the most important factors. Can I recognize when I'm actually full? Like, that is hard. And if you've been offloading that to a diet app for a very long time, something like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or Big Oven or Eat This Much or whatever it is, that's hard. But I'll tell you what, if you can master that skill, you've got it. Because it means when you go on holiday and you can't scan something through an app, you've got the best thing, which is your internal systems. And that's what we all do. We can't trust ourselves. I hear that all the time. I can't trust myself. And it raises more stress. And then I'm more stressed out. And then I can't digest my food. And then my hormones are all over because I'm chronically stressed out. And then
I was actually going to touch on that note as well, to meet people with where they're at, because not everybody's going to be at that level. Like, for me, for example, when I go out, I'm lucky that I have the nutritional knowledge to actually be able to go out and know what to eat. But people that aren't at that level, but they don't want to fuck up, like, pick foods that you are used to. Like, I'm a big proponent of picking foods that you are used to, because that's the level that my people are at. Like, pick foods you're used to, because why would you want to have something that's going to induce more stress onto you? Like you said, I find so much freedom through being so regimented with my food. So when I'm out, I will pick something that I can recognize. I will pick grilled chicken, grilled fish. If I want, I will order boiled potatoes. I will order whatever else with it. I prefer to eat boiled potatoes just because it doesn't have that extra oil and I don't have to account for any extra fats in that meal. I'm okay with that because that is what I prefer, and I get more satisfaction from actually sitting down, enjoying a meal, knowing that it is something that my body recognizes, and walking away from that night, waking up the next morning, well digested and everything else. If I choose, whatever, if I go down the route of, it's just a holiday, I'm just going to eat this, and then I wake up the next day with like gas and all these different, and going to no, honestly, like, I see it all the time. People are having like bad bowel issues, or they're gassy as hell, or they're bloated, or they're so puffy from all the salt they ate in a meal, and then they feel shit, and then they don't have the motivation to then show up to the gym, then show up to life. Like, know what it, just because it means holiday does not mean holiday out on food. Pick something with the thought in mind. How do I want to feel after this? Who am I? What is my purpose? What is my goal? I want to eat in a way that's going to actually make me feel good. And choosing a pizza and choosing, like, I'm just picking something that you mentioned, so pizza will do. Choosing a pizza and eating like 3 or 4 slices of that, my body's not used to that shit. I don't really know what else is on that. There's like a shitload of cheese. There's like all these other processed things on there because it's just like that pizza. And it's like, it's got different components to it that aren't the way that I would usually eat a meal. And it probably most likely will take me over my macro goal for the day. I might feel really shit the next day because my body didn't digest it properly. It didn't have enough fiber in it. It had too much fiber in it. It didn't have enough veggies in it. It had too many veggies in it. It didn't have enough protein in it. I didn't hit my protein goal. Like, there are so many different things that you might need to prioritize at your part of the journey. Not everyone needs to prioritize that stuff, but that's the other thing when it comes to like emotions. Your emotions can easily override your logic. Like common sense. You were touching on this before. Like, we know what we should be doing, but do we really? Like, a lot of the time there is no common sense on something. It's like someone says something, all of a sudden we believe that fact, and then our common sense gets lost along the way because we've lost the basic way of critically thinking about food, like from the ground. Like, when people say plant-based, they think go vegan. No, you can, like, plant-based means plant-based, not just vegan, for example. Like, most of my diet is plant-based. I eat tuna, I eat chicken, I eat egg, like, but most of my food is plant-based. Like, it's, everything just fits into how you feel as a person. And then you actually touched on something that I think will be the most important thing for you to really emphasize on, really emphasize on after working with so many people and lecturing so many places, is how putting yourself first and how being in control of your food and just putting yourself through, not even just food, just putting yourself first, how it overflows into other aspects of life, that you actually do choose to show up for yourself, even though it feels hard. Like, showing up for yourself in terms of self-time, morning routine, night routine, going to the gym, going to the outdoor place to do your training, whatever it is you choose to exercise yourself with. Like, why is putting yourself first so crucial to even the people that you love?
I think that's a really great question. And I think that here's something that I like to emphasize, right? Is that your yes has no value until you learn to say no. Do you know what I mean? So if I keep saying yes to just everything, yeah, you keep giving it all away, at some point you're gonna go, no, I'm not doing that. You know, some people can't though, right, Rube? So you have to sit there and recognize that. And a lot of people could sit there and go, yeah, but I've got kids and I've got responsibilities and I've got a mortgage and I've got, you know, my car outside that I've got to pay for, and right now I need to get on with this, and you know, Friday I've got a deadline, and all these other things and whatnot. And yeah, we do have to place a lot more emphasis on ourselves. But look, no one will care more about your health and your needs and all those other things more than you. You know, no GP. So that's the general practitioner. That's a doctor. That's like a doctor.
Yeah.
No GP, no doctor, no whatever will care about your health as much as you, because you're the one that has to go through it, right? So at some point you have to sit there and go, you know, if I want to continue to feel this way about myself, and remembering why you're making that choice is really important. We have to reflect back. Now look, at the same time that we have also those social responsibilities as well. So it might not just be work and all those other things. And these things are the things that are getting in the way. And that's what I say about, what we've both said, just meeting people where they're at. I can give someone a meal plan, and I'll tell you what, they'll just go, no, not doing that. I don't want that. I'm here, that's my role, to figure out the problems and get you a solution, right? Because I'll tell you what, how do I make every aspect of my health better, right? If I've got, you know, I've just seen conversations this morning with some very, very highly prolific chefs here in the UK, and a doctor, one of these doctors that are on the TV sort of thing, right? And he was saying about, like, you know, chronic fatigue, inflammation, obesity, depression, hypothyroidism, all these issues, right? The number one thing that will fix all of that, lose some weight, right? If you can make your body more responsive to food, losing some weight, right? That will fix all of those things. Your inflammation drops, your testosterone can be better, right? And testosterone is important for both you and me, Rubes, right? Ladies and gents, and everyone, no matter what your sex or whatever it is at birth, right? Your gender at birth, right? We're all included. We all need testosterone. We all need thyroid. We all need estrogen. We all need stress. We all need all these things. They are functional to us, right? If I'm getting angry about something, it's because I love myself and I need to get out of a situation. That's the way you got to think about it, right? Anger is things that are going against my values and the things that I like to do on a day-to-day basis, etc. You know?
That's actually something really important I want to touch on, because people dismiss how important it is to be within a healthy body fat range. Like, we could go into the whole controversy of the health at every size bullshit, but like, the comorbidities out there with insulin resistance, diabetes, everything that he just said, inflammation, hypothyroidism, other thyroid issues, it's like your body is less able to assimilate and to use nutrients that you give your body if it is carrying a higher level of body fat, because fat cells are not just for fat. They are a storage site for toxins. Therefore, the more fat cells that you have, the bigger those fat cells are, the more toxic your body is. And no, you do not need to freaking detox. You just need to lose some weight. Like, drink some water, lose some weight, eat healthy food. Like, it's not going against any body types. And people think that it is a stab against them by mentioning, like, a healthy body fat range. And this is where that whole, like, okay, we're going to rebel against the diet culture and go, let's go healthy at every size, let's go anti-diet culture. Like, no, there is the messy middle. And that is where most of us people exist. If you actually put the time into investing into the habits, developing the identity that will create a lean and healthy life, it becomes that much easier for you. And yes, there are people that find it really difficult because they have metabolic issues. But it can be made easier by losing body fat, even though the process to actually get it started is harder because you're now at this phase. Like, that is where physicians and GPs come in. Get medicated for whatever you need to get medicated in. Form an alliance team with who you need to work with. Work with a physio, work with your coach, work with a doctor, work with a thyroid specialist, hormone specialist, whatever it is. But realize that sometimes it all comes down to just the simple basics of moving more often, because moving more often also makes you insulin sensitive, which helps you assimilate nutrients. Moving more often, eating the right foods, putting yourself into a deficit that will then allow you to lose the weight, which will then allow you to lose the body fat, which is where all those toxins are stored, and your body will become less inflamed, and then the less inflammation will then help the hormonal flux in your body.
But we know that, Rubes, right? But it's our job to make that easy for people to do. Do you see what I'm saying? That's my job anyway. Yeah. That's the way I look at it. It's never a matter of, I can turn anyone, any personal trainer, anyone can turn around and say, here's your calories, here's your macros. That's not the important thing. But doing it, just getting started, having the time to commit to preparing some food, if you like, right? And if not, then you need to recognize the better options that are for you that are out there and know how to pick them up. Now, you and me are really great at that. Now, I made a product that I've got on my website for people to be able to find out more about. Some people don't even know what a macronutrient is. Some people don't know how to go shopping. I've done some of my clients shopping for them. Some clients, I even teach how to organize their washing up on their sink, because they hate washing up, and that's why they don't cook. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not just about macros, calories, performance, training, all those other. It's how do we fundamentally get people to approach cooking food at home and eating at home and enjoying that process. You know, just yesterday, so here we've got a a supermarket called Morrison's, right? And I guess you've got your supermarkets as well. And I was talking to the lady that was serving me behind the counter, because I always have a chat, right? Because I'm that kind of guy, right? And she was saying, you know, my husband's a long distance lorry driver, and he gets up at 2:30 in the morning, and you know, and as soon as he comes home, he's straight to bed. So I eat Hello Fresh. So I was like, well, I just enjoy cooking so much, you know. And she's like, well, I'm gonna have a personal chef, and off she goes. She's like, I'm gonna win the lottery, and I'm gonna have a personal chef. And you know, and it's people like that, Ruby. They're the people that need our help the most, you know. And in reality, you know, yes, they do need more movement in their lives, and yes, we do need high performance people and everything else. But I think that in reality, we need to make what we do really approachable and keep it really simple. KISS principle. That's another one that I learned from Luke. Keep it really simple so that people can actually access this stuff. And that's why I made this product on my site. So it's just like, it tells you what protein is, it tells you what carbohydrates are, and it gives you really great simple solutions to be able to actually do it, right? And then, you know, these are the things, and it's a really colourful document. So when I look through it, it's really engaging, it's really bright, and I can flick through it on my phone, and it's bright for me. If I just keep turning up to a coaching session and my personal trainer's just going, "Where's your calories? Do you fucking know your protein target or what?" Do you know? And that's when I talk to them. That's how there's no soft skills at all with people, and they just sit there and just like place all this emphasis on what they do, and there's no real like kindness or approachability. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, is that people see that and they recognise that, and then they go, I'm not going to do it, you know, and then they never get started. Or they go to Weight Watchers, right? And every time they go and they put weight on, pay me. You owe me money now because you've been turning up. You've got to pay for whatever it is. Or, you know, these really horrible.
You're not focusing on the process. It's like, be process focused. You need to make the process so simple that it's entry levels. Like, people talk about setting big goals, and I just wrote a post about this. People talk about setting big goals, but the thing is, if you set the goals so big without realizing that the process is the thing, you're setting the entry level so high that you're making it difficult to even get started, because it's the momentum that is the driving force, not the motivation to set really big goals, but the momentum once you get started, if you can get started. So we've pretty much touched on literally everything. I'm going to upload, we touched on pretty much everything you need to know, which is that it's not about the food, it's about everything else. And once you start to critically think about just how much is involved, you'll really start to relook the process and relook at the process and realize keeping shit simple is probably the best way, and looking at it from the long-term view is probably the best way, because it is not just about the macros. There is so much more to it. And once you can zoom out and focus on the haystack, not the actual strand of hay itself, you will actually start to see results in every area of your life. So
Can I just say then, right? If I was going to take 3 things away today, Ruby, right now, what can I do? What can I do right now that's dead easy for me to do? 3 things.
Eat protein at every meal.
Cool.
Eat more plants at every meal, veggies especially, and fruits if you like fruits. And just do something as simple as walking. Like, walk more, move more.
I'll give you 3. Hydrate like it's your job. Drink a lot of water. Right, we know that, right? Yeah. See sunlight. Just get your eyes on some sun, because it starts to kickstart your metabolism, and not only that, it also gets you to. It also tells your body where you are in time and in space. Your circadian rhythm. It tells you when you're going to sleep and all the rest of it. And get plenty of. Emphasize your sleep. You know, people's diet is made easier if they do those 3 things, plus the 3 things that you said, which is about eating more protein, eating plenty of vegetables and fruits and all those other things, keeping your food really good quality. And if you sleep really well, and if you hydrate plenty, you know, and you get that walk outside, which you can combine with getting your eyes on the sunlight, right? They are the fundamental basics. They are I call them basic principles, aren't they? They're just the basic principles of a healthy diet. If I actively want to be unhealthy, what 3 things would I do if I wanted to be unhealthy?
Eat out with every meal.
Yeah.
Be a stress maniac, and go by the whole sleep is for the weak mentality.
Yeah. I'll give you 3. All or nothing. They're going to actively make me more unhealthy long term. You know, I'm going to be hungrier, I'm going to be starving, I'm going to be binging on food and everything else. If I wanted to be unhealthy, what else would I do? I'd get no sleep, and I'd not have a bedtime or a wake time. You know, these are the things that if I wanted to be unhealthy, I'd have no waking up time or going to bed time, just do whatever. And I would probably emphasize things like Xbox and sitting and watching Netflix constantly all day in between. Maybe like I might go to the gym and do all those other things, but then I just do nothing in between.
You just gave me a podcast name. Because you just said you will emphasize the Xbox. I resemble the it's where you focus on and what your priorities are will dictate the outcome of your life.
Keep being unhealthy, you know, they're the things that you keep doing. But if you want to get healthier right now, you know, hydrate like it's your job, eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, get protein in a relative amount to you at least 1 or 2 meals a day. You know, that's the thing, isn't it? Because a lot of people go like, oh, it's so hard to eat protein. And I go like, well, what are you eating? And they said, well, I have a bowl of cornflakes, I had soup for lunch, and then I had half a chicken breast at dinner. And, you know, it's like, well, you didn't get protein at breakfast, you didn't get any protein at lunch, and then you had some protein at dinner, and that's why you've not hit your protein goal, right? So it's just like recognizing that maybe I can have some Greek yogurt or some, you know, all those other things. Or, you know, over here I use things like lemonade and, you know, these really fancy cheeses and stuff because we have an amazing dairy culture over here. But yeah, so they're the things that you can start doing. See some sunlight, get some rest, and take control. Because when you've got a plan and you know what you're doing, that will reduce your stress straight away, and you'll be happier, and you can get through it, and you can have your goal. They're hard, trust me, they're hard, but they're not impossible. That's what I'm about. Yeah. Thank you very much, Rubes.
Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for coming on. We talked a lot of stuff. We left off with probably, I'm just going to call it liquid gold. So I will put this back, I will put this up on my YouTube channel, 100% Real with Ruby. And I will link his Instagram in the caption description thingy below. And yeah, give us a like, share, whatever. And we love you all.
Yeah, what's got 2 thumbs and loves you? Yeah, at Hus Nutrition or www.husnutrition.com. There's loads of recipes. There's loads of free
I'll put that down below as well.
There's loads of free downloads, there's meal plans, there's all sorts. I'm going to try and get a calorie counter on there as well, but I kind of don't like that too. But there's loads of stuff on there at the moment. So yeah, keep in touch, and everyone stay really safe and look after your gut and your liver like it's your dojo. Yeah, treat it with respect.
Definitely. Okay. Bye.
Cheers, Ducky. See you later.
Bye.